Hello, welcome to Daily Wellbeing with Gemma. Today I want to talk about something a little bit more sensitive, and so I want you to bear with me on this one. Today's wellbeing idea is about being political. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is that I've noticed on social media a lot of people posting to not be political about the virus. And, let's not bother people with complaints and criticising what action's been taken. It's not fair. People are trying their best. And I understand to some extent the sentiment that they're going through. They're perhaps experiencing a lot of trauma and uncertainty, and they're finding that accountability or possible negativity difficult to deal with. So that, they're saying that out of a need for their well-being, which I understand. But I also think that being told not to be political and not to ask questions is almost a form of gaslighting. It's sowing seeds of doubt in us that we shouldn't be allowed to ask those difficult questions. And so, especially if you are concerned and politically engaged, being told not to be political is bad for your well-being. I want to relate this back to something that I said before about the circles of control. So in one of my previous videos, I said that when we feel things are out of our control, we tend to get a little bit more anxious and it's harder to cope with. Whereas when we feel like we have some decision making or that our actions amount to something, we tend to feel psychologically a little bit better about them. And so being political is a form of taking control. And obviously there are good and bad ways to be political. I'm sure everybody has witnessed internet discussions that escalate into people being very rude about each other, using unhelpful language and perhaps, using opinion instead of reasoned argument. So we can all see why being political can be damaging. But society is a political experience. The way we live our lives is determined by the policies that are decided upon, the way they're implemented, the way funding is spent. And so for a lot of people, this virus is highlighting how certain political ideologies and choices are having an impact. And actually what's really interesting is that because this is a global crisis, not only can we compare our situation to our neighbour within the same community, or different parts of one country to other regions, we can compare country to country, and we can see how different political approaches and different leadership styles has a direct impact on the quality of life of people around us and people globally. So now is an excellent time to get political and to start asking sensible questions about how do we want to be governed, and what kind of political choices are best for humanity on the whole. So if it's important to you, and if you're feeling like you're seeing injustices that you want to address, then do be political, because that is a form of control that is good for your well-being. Recommendations that I would make are discuss ideas and discuss kind of evidence and what's happened in situations rather than perhaps slating individual people. It's okay to say that you're not happy with somebody's choice, but it's not okay to be offensive about a person's kind of character or opinion. There's a difference between discussing behaviours, I'm not happy that you did this, versus I think you're an idiot. That's not going to get you anywhere, and it's just going to escalate and damage somebody else's well-being. Tell your story, or tell your neighbours' stories. A lot of us are seeing stories of wonderful good, and we're seeing stories of people whose needs are not being met, and telling those stories is a valid way of engaging with politics and making it human, and saying, here's a problem that I've spotted and I'm passionate about sharing it. One problem with politics is that a lot of people can just complain. So yes, tell your story, yes, raise your grievances, But actually, when people just say, here's all the bad stuff, that can really pull us down. So if you've got an issue or a grievance, make sure that you try and dovetail it with what would you like to see differently. People are inspired by action and by a vision for a better world. So if you're going to engage in these conversations, make suggestions. What could be done differently? And, it's not necessarily easy for us to implement it, but if those ideas are out there, that can be part of the conversation of the new way of living once all this is over. And of course, to make it feel like it's in our control, have a think about who you're speaking to about these issues. Is it just that you're, talking to groups of friends online about it? Or are you going to engage local councillors, MPs, write letters to campaign groups? The little control that we have is through our democratic processes by, voting, by protesting, by lobbying, all these different ways of trying to get the message out there are ways of, healthily engaging with politics. So, not for everybody, but if you're finding people are telling you not to be political, I would stand by it and just say, it's okay to be political, because that's me expressing my concerns. It's me trying to engage with a different way of living. And if that's what you need for your well-being, then go for it, but just do it sensitively so that it doesn't pull you down and it doesn't pull others down around you. So I hope that's interesting, and maybe this one sparks a little bit more conversation than some of my other wellbeing videos. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and see you next time. Bye.